Good morning, friends. Welcome back. It's a joy to get to spend this time together again. I missed our time last week, though it was for a very good cause. We had Jyotish and Devi here staying in Palo Alto, and they were giving satsangs and programs, and so it didn't make sense to do this at the same time. But we're back together now, and we're going to be singing actually another favorite of mine. There are many favorites, as Jyotish and Devi even said when they were visiting here. How many favorites are we allowed to have anyway? Because the list just keeps growing. But the reason I say this one is one of my favorites is because for whatever reason, I actually find it's one that I sing quite frequently. And the part that I often sing may surprise you. Let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, dearest friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, and our friend Swami Kriyananda, humbly we bow before all of you. Bless us today with the subtle understanding of the message of this song. Help us to feel your dedication, your adherence to Dharma. Help us to absorb our hearts in your love, to feel your presence with us, your protection, your grace in all that we do, and every thought that we think, and every feeling that we have. Help us to feel your presence. Om, peace. Amen. This song is from the oratorio, and it is entitled The Temptation of Christ. And it tells the story of when Christ has to go out into the desert and is tempted by the devil. And it's really a fun piece for many reasons. Originally, it's actually written for a quartet, a bass, a tenor, an alto, and a soprano. And obviously, lacking as I do 3 other people and the ability to multiply myself 3 times, we'll have to hear it from one voice today. But it's a really fun piece for many reasons, one of which that I always enjoy is each of the different singers plays a different part. It's sort of almost like a little mini operetta or something like this, that the bass takes on the voice of Satan. And so every time he opens his mouth and he sings, it's actually Satan talking to Jesus, and it's Satan tempting him. And what's really dynamic about this song is it's like you get to watch Christ in real time overcome temptation and turn Satan away again. And so it begins with Satan talking. And one of the things I sort of enjoy about this song is you don't really know who it is at first unless you're very familiar. Like the first time you hear this song, you're unsure of what's kind of going on. And then as the verse goes on, you start kind of, as we would say colloquially, some red flags pop up. And you start going, wait a minute, that doesn't really sound like Christ's teaching. And like, that doesn't make sense. And then Christ enters as in the voice of the tenor, and all of a sudden you realize what's actually been happening, and he banishes Satan behind him. And then from there, it's really beautiful because Christ, we have this understanding that he had to be tempted by the devil before he was able to go out and really expand his world mission to meet the masses. And so after this moment of Christ turning Satan aside, we hear narration occur by 2 angels, which are the 2 female voices, which then tells what happens after this moment. And then the sweetest part, perhaps, of the whole song is at the end. All 4 parts come back together, but you hear Christ's voice predominantly, and he's singing his mantra, if you will. Like the heartbeat of his love is the dominant voice that you hear at the end, and even in the quartet. And what's really fun is each of the different voices sing different words. So Satan is singing about how he fears God's love and how his throne of worldly power is disintegrating, and the angels are singing how Christ's mission is now beginning and expanding. But then over that and through that, permeating it like a wonderful perfume, you just feel Christ's mantra, which is that God is all I love. God is all there is. And it's such an incredibly powerful sentiment. It's not even a sentiment, it's such a powerful truth put to such a touching melody that it steals the heart's feelings almost instantly, I find. So because I lack the other voices, I figured I would at least describe just briefly what's sort of happening in the song. So hopefully you can follow along if you haven't heard this before. So with that, let's get into it.
Behold all the wonders God's grace can bestow, if you but reclaim what you've given. Why not ask of God any wonder you crave? Worship me to satisfy all human needs. Dominion now over all this noble earth. All I ask of you is worship me. Get thee behind me, Jesus declared. Satan, know you not our Father offers love in your stead. His gift of love to all is my only food, is all I own. What does man need but him? And then the darkness lifted, love destroyed Satan's power. Then at last the Savior could begin bringing all to God. For he taught them in freedom, wanting naught in return. All he offered was perfect peace, perfect freedom of soul. God is all I love, He is all there is. Wise is He who says, I am wholly His. God is all I fear, lo, my throne of power, shaken by His love, was destroyed in that hour. Throughout all the world, a new spirit was born. Jesus brought to men's hearts hope for those steeped in sin. God is all God is all I love. He is all there is. Wise is he who says, I am wholly his. And just for a moment, allow that phrase, that prayer of Christ to reverberate in your heart. God is all I love. He is all there is. Wise is he who says, I am wholly his. What an uplifting song, isn't it? It's beautiful. And very entertaining too, isn't it? We get a nice drama happening here, and a nice arc that happens from the beginning to the end. Now, a few things I'd like to highlight about this song, because it's not really practical to sing this song in its entirety, sort of in your daily life, because of all the different parts, also by virtue of the fact that the vocal range required is quite broad, as you could hear. I also was delighted to be able to sing this song because being a morning broadcast, I can sing those bottom notes, whereas if you asked me to sing this at 5 or 6 p.m. in the afternoon, I might not be able to do it. So actually, just as a humorous aside, I say I often sing this song. The introductory part, which is Satan singing, I sing often in the mornings just because I can, and I enjoy actually having a low voice in the mornings and getting to sort of pretend I'm a bass, or at least a baritone maybe. So what we can take out of this song and apply to our lives is not necessarily the whole thing in its entirety, which in a way makes it it saves some of its glory and its sweetness for when we get to hear it performed live. But we can tune in more deeply to the different sections and kind of glean the essential inspiration out of them nonetheless. And so I'd like to focus now on 3 parts. Actually, the beginning introduction with Satan, Jesus's rebuttal, if you will, and Jesus' rejection of Satan's invitation, and then the final phrase, of course, which is the most important, the essence of the song, that last line that Christ sings, God is all I love. And I just want to begin actually by saying it was very interesting to me. I heard someone tell me who often sang the part of Satan in this song, in performance, that he was beginning to feel a little bit downtrodden, that, oh, I always have to sing Satan's part, and that's not very uplifting, and that's not very inspiring, and what does that say about me? Well, what it says about you is you have a bass voice. That's about it. But actually, the interesting thing is, when I sing this the first line of Satan singing to Jesus, I find it to be very inspiring, because well, I don't know why. It just sort of confounds the intellect, because it is Satan tempting us into trying to use our spiritual power to find worldly happiness. And maybe part of the joy of this first phrase is when we sing it, we find freedom from that temptation itself, because Swami has woven into even the melody of Satan the recognition of where truth lies. Or at least it seems to me to be that way from when I sing it. When I sing the part of Satan, I don't feel more and more tempted to go out and use my spiritual power, whatever they might be, to achieve worldly happiness and success. But rather, it feels more and more that the more I sing that, the more self-evident the answer becomes. God is all I love. He is all there is. Wise is he who says, I am wholly his. So let's actually take a look together, because it's also, I think, part of the song that sort of can sneak by without realizing that it's already happened. Let's take a look at what Satan is actually saying to Jesus, and let's realize how that temptation is actually very real in our daily life. So he says, behold all the wonders God's grace can bestow. And so far I love this, that already Satan isn't like cackling and clicking his fingers together and, saying, I can turn you into an evil Darth Lord of the Sith. He's just saying, look at all of the creation. Isn't it wonderful? And what's important about this is Satan sometimes insinuates himself in our mind by our own false reasoning, which means that he begins with something that we can agree with. Behold, all the wonders God's grace can bestow. And you go, yeah, look at that. God's grace is pretty magnificent. Look what it's made. Careful, because where does that thought lead next? If you but reclaim what you've given. So why give freely when you can take back those gifts? Why not ask of God any wonder you crave? And now again, that's something really to consider. How often have we found our thoughts, our prayers, our hopes going to God for some wonder that we crave? And that's what Satan's saying. Why not ask of God any wonder you crave? Why not? If you want to be a king, why not ask to be a king? If you wish for money, why not that? If you wish for companionship or friendship, why not? And as the title of one of Swami's books says, Sadhu, beware. But then he goes on, and this is where we really begin to understand, wait a minute, there's a trick afoot. As he says, worship me to satisfy all human needs. And when he says that word me, I think the whole audience sort of perks up and realizes, now wait a minute, who's talking here? And that's Satan talking. And then he goes on, and now he's really sort of revealing his cards. He says, dominion now over all this noble earth. All I ask of you is worship me. And this is really important for us to remember. What are we worshiping? Are we worshiping God, or are we worshiping the world? Are we worshiping, meaning giving our heart's energy, giving our devotion, giving our attention to the worldly plane in and of itself? Something to consider and to watch in your own heart. So then he ends, all I ask of you is worship me, and I can give you dominion over all of this noble earth. And then Jesus comes in, and he says, get thee behind me, Jesus declared. And then he continues on, Satan, know you not our Father offers love in your stead. His gift of love to all is my only food. He is all I own. What does man need but him? And that is one of my favorite phrases in this entire body of music. His gift of love to all is my only food. He is all I own. What does man need but him? Very sweet. So let's focus on these two phrases for a moment. And if you were to only be able to sing one, actually I would focus mostly on the last part of when Jesus is singing, because also it's the most vocally accessible. But now let's listen just to the melody of this first phrase from Satan and actually appreciate how beautiful it is. It's actually quite lyrical and sweet. And again, this is, I think, a lesson to be learned here, that the temptations that come to us are not cloven hooved and with a trident in their hand, but they're tempting. And this melody is a very sweet one. I actually really like it. try singing that melody. Behold all the wonders God's grace can bestow, if you but reclaim what you've given. Why not ask of God any wonder you crave? Worship me to satisfy all human needs. Dominion now over all this noble earth. All I ask of you is worship me. Can you feel what the message is a little bit more clearly after we deconstruct the melody and the lyrics together? Isn't it actually a beautiful melody? It's very seductive, is perhaps the right word. And we can hear how tempting some of these thoughts would be. Why not ask of God any wonder you crave? But now let's listen to Jesus' response to this. Isn't that such a sweet melody? It just stretches the boundaries of my heart. So now let's apply that to the words. And can you feel that this melody both has great power, but also so much compassion? It's like power and compassion in equal parts, and they go fluidly, perfectly from hand to hand. For example, that's quite a bit more declarative than this, even this next little phrase. But then we get the power again. And then it softens here. Isn't that lovely? Now let's hear it when we add the words to it. Get thee behind me, Jesus declared. Satan, know you not our Father offers love in your stead. His gift of love to all is my only food, is all I own. What does man need but him? And now for my favorite phrase, perhaps of all, and the phrase that I would invite you to try and meditate on this week, to take into your heart, to sing constantly. says, I am holy is. Sing it with me. God is all I love. He is all there is. Wise is he who says, I am holy is. God is all I love. He is all there is. Wise is he who says, I am holy is. See if you can draw that melody into your consciousness this week. Sing it as you're driving to work. Sing it as you're going into a meeting. Sing it as you come home, as you're meeting again with your spouse. Sing it when you're alone. Sing it before your meditations. God is all I love. He is all there is. And remember, this is Christ speaking. Feel that this is Christ singing within your own consciousness. For Christ is present everywhere. He is just as much inside of you as he is anywhere, at any time. Wise is he who says, I am wholly his. And when you sing that phrase, I am wholly his, try to feel that to be your reality. And this phrase, let it remind you of what you were made for. That you were made for loving God. You were made for God alone. That's what this song is all about in its final experience, in its final analysis. Though we get to play and enjoy and experience all those other parts, the different melodies, it comes back to this reality. For what end were you made? Where are you going? God is all I love. He is all there is. And just imagine if this was the melody that resounded through the chambers of your heart when you awoke in the mornings, when you went to bed at night, when you were still between moments of activity and rest. That's what this song is offering to us. That's what the masters are offering to us. And music has that incredible way of insinuating itself into our consciousness. And as Swami says, actually creating new consciousness. And so sing this melody and allow Christ and allow Swamiji to create in you the awareness that God is all you love, that He is all there is. Wise is he who says, I am wholly his. Let's sing this one more time. God is all I love. He is all there is. Wise is he who says, I am wholly his. God is all I love. He is all there is. Wise is he who says, I am wholly